DAB+, online, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker.
EFL All Access
on talkSPORT 2.
You're listening to EFL All Access on talkSPORT 2. Hugh, Woozencroft and the former Wycombe captain Joe Jacobson are with you. Our focus in League One and for the rest of the show today regards to managerial sackings. And we start with Luton Town, who've sacked their manager Matt Bloomfield with the club 11th in League One following Saturday's loss at Stevenage. Now, Luton began this season's campaign with 3 wins in their first 4 games, but a downturn followed with 4 losses from 7 since then. A club statement said performances and results in the opening 11 matches of the current campaign in League One have fallen below the levels expected. Of course, remember, Luton suffered a double relegation coming into this season from the Premier League and the Championship. Bloomfield won 12 of his 33 games in charge of the Hatters, losing 14 of them. Let's speak to Finley Cannon from the Oak Road Hatters podcast, part of the talkSPORT fan network, of course. Good evening, Finley.
Hello, good evening.
Well, firstly, are you surprised by this?
Not really. I don't think it was that much of a surprise when the news was announced. Maybe the only thing that was surprising was that they did actually pull the trigger quite so soon. I thought it would take a little bit longer in terms of a few more days. Obviously, we've got the Virtue Trophy Motors game tomorrow, but then we've got a break because of the international players being away.
How would you describe the tenure of Matt Bloomfield? He was given the job of trying to keep you in the Championship. That didn't work. Felt like it was all geared towards him as a coach. Really backed him and tried to go for League One. But in the end, it wasn't to be.
Yeah, it's been, I guess, tough from the outset for him. He came in after Rob Edwards, who was beloved by Luton fans, but obviously it went wrong with Edwards towards the end, and Bloomfield came in, struggled at the start, I guess, struggled to get that first win, but then towards the end of the season in the Championship, he actually got some really good results, and we started picking up a lot of points, and we didn't lose that many games under him, but obviously we still went down. But I think that was not much of the blame could be placed on Bloomfield for the relegation. But then this season, as you mentioned there, he has been backed. We've brought in a lot of players. We've got a very strong squad for the division. It just doesn't seem to have gone right, whether that be the system not working or the players not performing for him. So something's been going wrong, and unfortunately for Matt Bloomfield, it's him that the blame's been placed on.
Well, I was going to ask if the blame needs to be shared, possibly across those players, but also the hierarchy at the club, who for many have just kind of manoeuvred in a way that's been unexpected over the last few years. Yes, we know the dream, and it's coming. A new stadium for Luton Town is going to be fantastic for the club and the area. But obviously going up to the Premier League, not spending enough money to stay in that division, maybe that was the right decision. But coming down with parachute payments over last year going into the Championship, this year going into League One, many felt some of that money, maybe much more of that money, needed to be used to make sure that you had a squad that was almost too good for League One.
Yeah, I can completely agree. Obviously the stadium in Power Court is huge, and it's going to be huge for the club in the future. But at the current rate, that future will be League One football, which we can't really afford to be playing in a new stadium that's going to be significantly bigger than what we're currently in at Kenilworth Road. And yeah, you mentioned sharing the blame there. I think the players have got to take a lot of responsibility for Bloomfield's sacking. They clearly haven't performed to what their level is. We've got some very, very talented players in the squad, the likes of Jordan Clark, George Saville. Both of those players have stepped up and performed, but the players around them don't seem to have either they've not completely bought in, or they're just not anywhere near to what they're capable of. And then, yeah, the board as well, they seem to have taken focus off the footballing side of things and really focused on the stadium. And as a podcast, we've been calling for a director of football or a sporting director to come in and take control of the footballing side of things, so the board can really focus on getting us into that new stadium, which has been something that's been needed for a long time, but that doesn't seem like it's going to be the case.
Finley, one of the things that people have mentioned about the board and about the players and about the manager and who's not to blame for things, but is it probably a combination of all three? But can you have a case of having too many players? The squad there is huge. The talent you've got, and it must be so difficult for a manager to be able to control that many players every week. You've probably got 20 players that are unhappy they're not in the starting 11, and I'm not sure exactly who signed the players or not signed the players, but sometimes if you get too many players in a squad, it's really difficult to manage. The harmony's not great, and is it just been a case of having kind of too many options and not nailing down a solid starting 11?
Yeah, I think that's a fair criticism, particularly up front. Obviously, in the Premier League a couple of seasons ago, we had quite a light squad and we suffered a lot from injuries, which left us short, particularly in defence as well. And then last season as well, we had a few injury struggles at times, which left us short in some areas. And we seem to have gone the opposite way this season. We've really recruited heavily, which has given us a lot of players in a few positions, but up front in particular, where we're constantly seem to be changing who we're playing up top. And yeah, I guess it's probably quite hard as a manager to work out what your best side is when you've got so many players in and around the squad. We also got quite a lot of players coming back from injury as well, so I guess that makes it even more difficult as well. But I don't think it would be fair to say that the number of players we've got in the squad contributes to our negative performance or poor performance, because there are players available to find what we need.
Just got to ask you finally, what kind of manager would you like to see come through the door at Kenilworth Road, and what will the goal be for this season for whoever takes over?
Well, for me personally, it's got to be someone with experience, not just at this level, but potentially some experience in the Championship as well, because as a club, we should be looking to bounce straight back. We've had back-to-back relegations from the Premier League and then the Championship, so we have the squad of players to take us straight back up, and we should be aiming to go straight back up to the Championship. So it needs to be someone who is able to not just take over at this level, but also take us into the Championship and be successful in the Championship.
Okay, all right. Thank you so much for being with us. Finley Cannon from the Oak Road Hatters podcast, part of the talkSPORT Fan Network, by the way.